Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. We got special season 2 kicking off right with my man Steve Harmon here. One of the industry leaders. If you're in the storm restoration space, this is the man. If you want to play the game and play the game right and get to the next level, you got to get to know my man Steve Harmon. He is a Xactimate level 1, 2, and 3 trainer. If you don't know what that is and you're in the storm restoration space, you're missing out on a lot of money. Is that right?
Yep.
So, Steven, we had a great opportunity to come swing by in our office. We both know another industry leader that's helping me out. I called in a favor, and he brought you by to us at Savage Roofing here in Joliet, Illinois. This is our main headquarters, and you're doing some consulting and reviewing some stuff for us. Keep going. Reviewing some stuff for us. So let's talk about what your expertise is, what you do, and how you're offering value to all the people out there doing storm restoration work.
Well, my name's Stephen Harmon. First, I just want to thank you for allowing me to come in and help you guys out. I'm on the road. I left in from Florida to be in Lansing, Michigan for a major appraisal with the panel. And then I was coming up to visit some friends in Milwaukee, and another friend of mine, another colleague in the area in Chicago, was having some issues with some carriers that are not really paying properly. So he's one of my students from years ago, and he asked me to come in and take a look. So we looked at a flat roof, we looked at some other ones. And then another colleague of mine, mutual colleague with me and Daniel, seen that I was in the area and asked me if I'd come over and stop at the office and take a look. So I got in a little late today. I apologize for that. But
good. You're doing the Midwest tour right now.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to spend a night. They graciously got me a couple nights, so we're going to stay another night. So I'll be here a couple days helping out.
Kick it off and just teach us what you know. So what exactly is it that you know and you're what I believe is an expert in?
Well, a lot of people call me an expert. I'm just, guys, I get up every day and I'm just like you. I put one leg in a pair of pants, one leg at a time. I'm no different. I just have a lot of experience and years of making mistakes, and I think that's one of the things as a general contractor, we all make mistakes, and that's, you're not going to do that again. Well, as an insurance adjuster, I made mistakes, and as a young trainer, I made mistakes. But what I did is basically, I'm an Xactimate Certified Trainer. I'm one of 45 in the world. Wow. We have to be level 1, level 2, level 3. And then we got to be asked to come into part of the Xactware family to be a trainer. I was level 3 as a young adjuster after I took a 16-week course that a lot of these young adjusters don't even know about. Adjuster Pro put it on a long time ago, and I spent a lot of money. I spent like $16,000 because I wanted to know more before I stepped into the world as adjusting. Because a lot of these kids out there today, the carriers aren't just training anymore. They're not getting out there. Big red, big blue, the military ones aren't training these kids, and they're sending them out there. And unfortunately, what they're doing, and you're seeing the byproduct of really low estimates. They don't know they don't know material. They don't know the software. They have a duty as an insurance adjuster. An insurance adjuster has a fiduciary responsibility to conduct a thorough site inspection. And what that means is they have to be competent in their profession. And I always throw that word competent out there because if they're not competent in the software, how can they write a proper estimate if they don't even know how to use the software correctly? And that's the problem. That's what we see today.
And it's a problem, and it's the ones that are getting hurt as the insurers, the homeowners. Yep. They're the ones that are feeling the blunt rejection behind this. They're paying for a policy. They're paying for basically what is a contract between them and the carriers to indemnify them, make them whole again. But when you have uneducated adjusters on the insurance side, and you have uneducated, let's say, salesmen coming in from the roofing side, it couples where it really hurts the industry and it really hurts the homeowner, right? So we're both fighting a model right now where we're trying to get educated and teach our salespeople to fight the business model where you have uneducated salespeople coming, selling roofs and trying to talk about policy when maybe they shouldn't, right? So that hurts. So vetting who you pick as a roofing company or public adjuster is super important. And on the other end of that, vetting who the insurance adjuster that's actually coming to indemnify your property, who they are and what their credentials is.
So I would agree a lot on that. And what I say is that what I see going on most of the time is I see an adjuster going out writing an assumption of scope. Now let me explain that. An assumption of scope if they're not competent in the profession they're in. And if they don't know their profession. So if I get a guy that was, like I was telling Daniel earlier, is like, look, we have a barbershop next door. I had a young man that took my class. He wasn't in the industry. He doesn't know construction. He doesn't know drywall. He doesn't know acoustical drop. He doesn't know lighting. He doesn't know windows. He doesn't know reglazing. He doesn't know all that stuff. So how is he going to write a proper estimate, even a roofing estimate, let alone that? How is he going to be competent to come up against a certified roofing contractor that's actually certified in the applications that they're putting on? So I question that, and I think homeowners need to question that. I think a homeowner needs to question the competence of an adjuster that comes out. That's number one. Ask them, what did they do before? Were they a banker? Were they a barber? Were they working at McDonald's?
Right.
I mean, and now they're going to be your insurance adjuster climbing all over your roof. Do they know how to walk properly on tile? Do they know how to, I don't get on tile roofs. I'm too darn big. I'm going to break tile. Do they know how to inspect roofs? Do they know how to inspect standing seams? Do they know how to look at a 3-tab, do a brittle test?
And
do they?
And everything that you're hitting on is super important. And I think most homeowners have been brainwashed to reverse the inspection on just the contractors in, right? They're spending so much energy and time. I'm like, who should I pick to come out here and do my roof versus, man, I really need to question who's coming out here, which is most important. There's who's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what are and who are they? And are they qualified to come out and make that decision for me?
So I see a lot of young adjusters underpaying scopes because they're going to come out with their assumption. Just remember that it's just an assumption, because if they're not certified, if they're not a contractor, a roofing contractor, an engineer, or a home inspector, in my eyes personally, they don't have the authority level or the competency to write a proper scope. Unless they are HEG certified or some kind of roofing application certified. I just wrote to another adjuster the other day and told him, I said, listen, you continue to keep delaying this. This is the 4th adjuster on this roof, the 4th. The carrier's constantly delaying it. I said, listen, keep delaying this, and if you cause damage, more damage to the interior envelope from water getting in, I've already told the PA to go ahead and shrink wrap it and do double, because that's anywhere between $2 to $5 a square foot, depending on who you hire. If they double it, that could be $5 or $10 a square foot. And why would I double shrink wrap it? I want to ensure the envelope is going to be dry. Right. And send it back to the carrier, because what is the duties and responsibilities of a homeowner? They have to self-mitigate. I had this argument with a desk adjuster yesterday. She sat there and said that it's the duties and responsibilities of a insured to mitigate any damages. I said, really? Okay.
So slow it down a little bit. So maybe for my homeowners out there or a layman not understanding industry-specific words, what Steven's hitting on is it is your homeowner's obligation to upkeep your property, right? So that is your duty. When you're signing a policy, which is your contract, you're signing that, hey, number one, I'm going to make sure I take care of my home to make sure water doesn't come in, or if there is an incident of a peril that's covered, so wind, rain, hail, lightning, tornado, that you're going to do the best to your ability to protect your property, or bring a contractor if a tarp or shrink wrap is necessary to not make sure more damage happens. That is your obligation, correct?
Correct. But this is the key word, and you listen to this, and that's what I threw at the adjuster. She told me, she said, it's the duties and responsibilities of the homeowner to self-mitigate. I said, you are correct. You are correct. So if I take a banker that doesn't know jack squat about a roof, and they go up there and put sandbags and a plastic or even a towel, or maybe a tarp for a kitchen, a plastic tarp for a kitchen table or something. They're mitigating. That doesn't mean they're doing it right, but they're mitigating. What if they go in there and a leak's coming down, they put a pot there and grab the water? They're mitigating. And they wipe up the water to stop any further damage. But you show me that policy where it says one damn thing about they got to be successful. Ha! Key word. Doesn't say a damn thing about them saying they have to be successful. So when some young lady sat there and told me yesterday, I said, well, why did your adjuster not make recommendations for a drying company to come in, a mitigation company to dry it, put deskins and dehues in there? She said, that's the responsibility of the insured. I said, I'm going to call the BS card. And I did. I said, ma'am, you are totally incorrect. That is our responsibility as an insurance adjuster to make those recommendations. Unless they have authority, and its authority is taken away from us, there's not a damn adjuster out there that's considered insurance adjuster. They're just appraisers. They're appraising the damages at hand. Unless they write a check on that job site, like Big Red or Big Blue might, those are true adjusters.
Right.
The other guys, all they are is appraisers. They're appraising, giving you an assumption of damages, and it's just an assumption. It's their assumption at that time. And then I bring in a quality contractor that's certified, and when you're certified in your applications and you know all the steps it takes to do it, how does a kid that doesn't know how to put a roof on going to argue with somebody like you or myself?
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's what bothers me, and that's what I do when I talk about training. Guys, there's a lot of trainers out there. I have a lot of fellow colleagues out there that are really great trainers. I can name them all off. We all are going to give you something good. One thing I do, my students know I have your six. I'm ex-military, 82nd Airborne. I'm a general contractor, been a general contractor since 2007, state of Mississippi, till present. I built from the ground up custom homes. I was a VA contractor. I was a commercial contractor. I was a residential contractor. I've done industrial. I've done scattered lot housing. I've done it. I was a choice vendor for the VA. I was a disabled veteran. I did ADA work. I've done ceiling grid, drywall. So I've got hands-on, okay? I forgot more about construction than some of these kids know. And I say it every day in class. I never graduated from high school, never had a college degree. Everything I've done was with these two hands.
I love that.
You know, I have some fellow colleagues, a colleague I ran into in Florida, we sat at his table, and he's the same way, he's a public adjuster. Really impressed with the way he runs his company. I haven't seen a company ran that way in a long time. Hopefully I'll come back down there and do some work. But what I'm getting at is like I used to do with my kids when they were younger. You can be anything you want to be. As long as you set those goals, you go get it. I promise you'll get it. A lot of people get upset with me because I call a spade a spade. And you know, you don't know me. I tell you what, I'm probably the only trainer that's going to get up at 2 in the morning to help you. My students know that. My colleagues know that. I have given my number out numerous times. I run another site called Xactimate Tips and Tricks, Policy Language, Questions and Answers. It's set up for anybody that wants to come in, and I post pretty much a lot of information on Xactimate, how to use Xactimate, policy language. I got a couple friends of mine. We have attorneys, we have contractors, we have PAs, we have IA owners, carriers, managers, we have across the board. Guys, I get along with everybody on both sides of the fence.
So what's one good tip that you think you can share with us right now that you see what's going on in the industry that contractors are not doing, but what they should be doing right now to kind of make sure that they're making
you need to do two things. Stay in your lane, that's number one. Contractors need to be contracting.
And that's from the start, trying to speak like a PA when they're
right.
not.
They don't need to be crossing that line. I'm a building consultant. I am not a public adjuster. I was getting ready to open a public adjusting firm. I actually opened it for a little bit, but some things came up and it had some hiccups in my life, so we had to straighten some things out. But what I'm getting at is PAs need to stay in their lane because a PA does not know construction. There's a lot of PAs out there that think they know construction, and I don't really care. Some of you Texas guys may get pissed off at me, but I really don't care. Any monkey could be a GC in Texas, as far as I'm concerned. I'm probably going to get blackballed on that one a couple times, but it don't matter. And I don't mean that being bad and ugly, but I've seen a lot of nasty stuff out there. And my
Shout
fellow
out to A5 Roofing out in Texas.
My colleagues that know they're professional contractors, they know I'm not talking about them, because you don't have to take a test to be a GC. You know, I think a contractor needs to educate their homeowner, number one, educate them on what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. And I also think that the contractor needs to know what the proper methods and means of construction, because if you know the proper methods and means of construction, you can argue that point all day long against the carrier. Because let me explain something. Guidelines are not in the policy, okay? Guidelines are an unconscionable contract that a good colleague of mine in Mexico, very smart gentleman, introduced me to his philosophy, and he's going to start putting adjusters in jail. He's wrote some pretty healthy documents, and they're sitting at the TDI, and TDI does not know what to do with them right now. I know he's charged 6 different adjusters for fraudulent activity, because what they did was they wrote an estimate. They are not competent in their profession that he felt, and basically says adjusters have to be competent. How can an adjuster be competent and write a proper scope of work when they're not even certified in the application?
Yeah, and it again, like you're writing what you're suggesting as damage, and you don't know the proper means and steps A, B, C, D to build back, if it's roofing systems, interior systems, any kind of scope that you're trying to indemnify the insured. If you don't know the methodology of how to put it back together, how can you write a proper
right? Especially when
scope?
we were one of your employees were talking about doing a brittle test, and the adjuster went to the ridge and used just a little piece of the brittle. Literally, yeah. That's just trying to purposely underpay the file. You should go in the middle of the field somewhere, grab the full shingle, and see if she will bend or flex. And if it does flex to a certain point of 4 to 5 inches, the way we were taught as an adjuster, and if it comes up, and if it snaps, it snaps. That baby's gone. You know, I used to do brittle tests all the time, but they started paying for a lot of roofs. That's just the biggest thing, guys. You know, unfortunately, I see the industry. You know, we've got a great group of people out there. I know it, and I've got a great group of followers. I'm always there to help them, and I'm always there to get some advice. Guys, I don't know everything. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I don't. I learn every day just like you guys do, but I got a lot of knowledge. And that's one thing my son told me a long time ago was, Dad, when I retired the first time, he's like, what are you going to do? I got bored, guys. I really did. So I got into adjusting, and then I got tired after Katrina. I was a general contractor in Mississippi dealing with Katrina. I got tired of Big Red and Big Blue. I got tired of them. I hated them with passion. I hated adjusters. I didn't even know what a public adjuster was. I finished the house, went to a yacht club in Mississippi, and I was sitting there, and a gentleman came up and said, I want to introduce you to an adjuster, a public adjuster, he said. Maybe he can help your homeowner because the house sunk on the backside of inadequate construction. Let's just leave it that way. So we went after the contractor's liability insurance, so we won, right? And they're awarded like $193,000.
Nice.
And we were able to get the house elevated back. I elevated the house up, got it back up, rebuilt the piers, and we got it back. But after I got done, okay, this is what I ask you sometimes. When is enough money? There's industry leaders out there teaching you how to do things with the system I disagree with, okay? I'm not gonna name names. They know who they are. They're crunching those numbers to the gray line. Don't make me wrong. I will crunch the numbers to a gray line. I won't go red. I won't. Right. My name is too important for that. My integrity is too important for that. But I see a lot of things that people are doing. I'm not a big fan of custom pricing. I'll be the first one to tell you. I think you're wasting your time.
So when you're creating your own line item list of what you believe pricing should be, and it's usually higher in most cases than Xactimate's writing.
Yep.
And that's going to be, and a lot of times you see them do that, and if they're not doing that, they're doing just one bid item. That's my estimate.
Yep.
And that's what it costs.
So back in the day, I used to actually do one line item bids per room. So what I used to do is I would take the estimate and I would just give a scope of work, and I'd pencil it in. Them adjusters used to get mad as hell at me. And they're like, oh, we got to have it. I said, you asked for a line item breakdown. You didn't say about the price.
Right.
You know, I was out there on this appraisal, and the guy came up to me and said, hey, Harmon, there's no price. I said, yeah, I gave you a scope of work. We're here for a scope, because scope is what we have to come. I'm not worried about price. If you build a proper scope and you use all the line items that you need to do properly and the proper method and means of construction and all your generals that's going to go with it, you will build a proper estimate. You'll be paid well. But if you go to page 277, Xactimate 28 manual, first paragraph, second sentence right there, it clearly states right there, you can modify the line item, and you should do it in the components. And why? When you do it in the components, when you complete the file, which very few contractors ever do, if you complete the file, what it does is sends it back up to Xactware, and they start seeing price differences for your area. And when you do that, I'm telling you, you will change it. I have some colleagues in Lafayette, Kevin Hussey and them, they went in there, they got together, and they talked to the other mitigation contractors. And I believe he told me, he said he raised it 3% in his area.
So let's break it down a little bit better, because I have contractors that watch our show that are beginners all the way to senior contractors that 20 years plus. So basically what you're saying, don't focus so much on the dollar amount of writing your estimate and maximizing it to a dollar amount. Just make sure you're putting every line item that is necessary to get that build back, and eventually you're going to get to what the price needs to be to build it back properly.
If you build it back properly, because, okay, for instance, how many people forget to put, just say an interior, how many people forget to take and pay for light bulbs? Yeah. People don't pay for light bulbs, but if you take that fluorescent light out, I have shortened the life expectancy. The luminous hours on that has now been shortened. They've been diminished because I have now altered it. And every time it goes on and off and on and off, I have changed it by moving it.
Or like how we were speaking on earlier, proper staging. Let's say the room that has the damages at the rear of the house, and then you have to move equipment through a foyer or a hallway to get there. You have to create a pathway to protect the property, protect the rugs, protect the walls, and set up, for proper HEPA guidelines and laws, especially if you're working in the medical field or doing something in a hospital, right? Making sure that you're getting paid for everything that you're doing, right? Because if you're starting here and you got to work back there, you're not going to float, right? Like,
nope.
So
you can't float back
just
there.
Making sure what you're doing, you're writing for what you're doing, and then that's how you're going to get to a proper estimate. What
I see a lot of contractors doing, and I hear this all the time, it's the cost of doing business. Guys, it's not the cost of doing business. When somebody tells you it's the cost of doing business, you tell them, yes, you are correct. It's the cost of doing business for the carrier to put a policy on that policy holder, and they took funds to indemnify that policy holder monthly or annually. That is right. That is the cost of doing business. Now, the cost of doing business is they're going to have to pay for the damages that are incurred. And that's what it is. We owe for an incurred cost from a covered peril. Yeah. So that's what it states in the policy. But what I see all the time, I see too many contractors getting buffaloed over by adjusters, senior adjusters that are more career driven to, look, I was at a file the other day, and all of us were adjusters. I said, listen, guys, the carrier sent out an incompetent adjuster. He gave $511,000. I'm at $9 million. The opposing appraiser's like, well, I agree with the carrier. I said, well, you're an idiot then, because you know as well as I do, and we had that talk, that we could stand in the middle of the room and we could look both sides, and Stevie Wonder could see the hail that hit the vinyl siding. And if you can see that, and like the contractor said, well, he called the adjuster on the phone because the management team basically said, hey, adjuster just said they're going to deny it because they don't see damage. He says, well, you tell that damn adjuster to walk his fat butt off the road to the building, and maybe he might see the damages.
Yeah, I love that.
But, and that's the contractor video and the adjuster. And it's sad that we have individuals in the industry. Those are the guys that make bad apples that I have to apologize on behalf of good adjusters. We have some really good adjusters out there, Kara. We have to have empathy, not sympathy. I didn't buy your policy. You bought a policy. If you're pricing for the policy for the amount, then you're buying insurance the
Yeah,
wrong way.
let's hit on that for a little minute, because that's something that we see every day in the business. Like, homeowners are, sometimes they don't even understand what policies they're buying, because you'll have, Big Red, Big Blue calling homeowners and offering them bundle packages that are limiting their extended perils on their policy, and they're not even aware of it, right? So this is something that's happening every day. You're seeing policies change to percentage policies for deductible, and just important perils that need to be in there to get their roof replaced or their interior built back. Homeowners don't really know. What's one thing as a homeowner, or a couple things maybe, that they should be aware of when shopping a policy?
Well, the first thing I would say is, once you get a policy, you ask right away for a certified copy. So in the event if you do have a loss from a covered peril, that you have the actual policy that you signed and you made a contract with. That contract of adhesion between you and that carrier, and long as you have that and they do some changes and you didn't get any kind of signatures on it, hey, there's some case law out there where Allstate got sued, and I'll call it out by name, because the individual was very smart and found out that they used a blanket policy, and this guy had his original policy and said, there's changes in there you did, I did not agree with, and I'm still on the old policy.
Right.
And he won. Case law on that one. But what I would say,
let's just say if it's a brand new homeowners, right? Nice young couple, just got married, they just bought their new house. Boom, they got to pick out a policy. What should they be looking for?
in my opinion, and I'm not an agent, I'm not going to sit it, but in my opinion, they need to be putting coverage, not payment. Because if you're shopping for payment, you're shopping for the wrong thing. Because you should be shopping for coverage, because when coverage is there and something happens, you have coverage. Because the hardest part we have as contractors is we go out and all of a sudden you say, well, I got a $10,000 deductible. Well, ma'am, you're self-insured for the first $10,000. Well, are you going to eat that? No, that's against the law. We don't eat that. You got to be self-insured for up to $10,000. That means if I charge you $50,000, they're going to give you $40,000, and you're going to give me $10,000 to come up with it. And they want to wheel and deal.
All right, I love that. So if you're a homeowner, don't shop payment, shop for coverage. And if you're a contractor and your cost of doing business is too high, look for my man. So where can we find you at? Some of my people, if they
give me
want
some time. You can see me on, just search my name, Stephen Harmon, on Facebook. My website's down right now. I got a good colleague rebuilding it. My other website kind of went down mysteriously. We got that taken care of though, and I'll be back. Actually, I retired a while back, but I had a lot of colleagues reach out to me. I took about 90 days off to do some self-reflecting and get my life back, and I had a young lady call me in tears, and she needed help, and
love that.
It brought me back.
Golden heart, man. I love that. This is my man. I want to thank you so much for coming on and bringing so much value to the Savage Grand podcast. If you're out there, you're a homeowner, and you need some tips and some advice of how to get a policy and shop a good policy, look down, leave some comments. We'll respond back to you. If you're a contractor out there and you need to train your ladies in the office, this is the man. 1, 2, and 3 Xactimate level training. Hit them up. Leave a message. If you need, we'll get you to the man to get you help. I just want to thank you for tuning in this time. Season 2 kicking off right with my man. Like I always say, don't be average, go be savage today.